Let Out the Djinn. Tell me about
Let Out
its
the Djinn.
inception.
Inception. Well, I suppose it was a long time coming for me, really. It was just, I suppose it's the culmination of a dream that I felt might never happen, really. But I started writing the poems quite a long time, as you know, before the book was ever thought about or published. And I suppose the poems in here that are probably about 15 years old or more, but I just felt I wanted to express something that really moved me about a particular place, a particular object, a particular person, or feeling, really. And so there's a whole mosaic in there, really, of poems that are really quite important to me. So the inception, or the conception, it grew out of my growing awareness and love of poetry, and reading poetry as well, and reading so many poets that inspired me, and testing out the water with friends in terms of getting feedback from friends, really, and people who trusted poets, really, who I really liked, some established poets, some new poets like myself, getting some feedback. And then testing the water, really. And you know, that day in June, a couple of years ago now, when I got that lovely email from you, and I just I really couldn't believe it. I had to read it about half a dozen times before I could actually really take it in. And that was the beginning of a journey with you, really, which has really meant the world to me. It's been fantastic. Loved every minute of it.
Yeah. So I mean, it covers, for such a thin book, it covers a huge range. I mean, there's sort of ekphrastic things, there's history, there's prehistory, there's archaeology, there's deep space, and there's growing up as a lesbian in the 70s.
Well, I know. Yeah, and I was worried that I hadn't got a theme, because everybody said you must have a theme, and I kept thinking, I haven't got a theme. There is no particular theme to this. There's a whole lot of different themes, as you pointed out, but so that was always my underlying worry. I don't have a thing that holds it all together. That holds it together is me, really.
Well, and that works. I mean, I do actually see not exactly a theme, but a progression. And, you know, when we were putting the book together and I was saying, okay, so we're going to start here and we're going to go like this. And it seemed entirely logical to me. And I think the what got left out was what made it the progression. You know, because there were some great poems that ultimately didn't go in, just because they didn't fit with how I saw the book. And because my initial thing was, okay, this is a bit of this and a bit of that, but actually you can make it this progression through from right from the congratulations telegram birth.
Yes.
I love my proofreader didn't understand it at all. She said, "What's going on here?" And I said, surely she's no, I don't understand it. I understood it.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, and the sort of, there's this sort of little sort of microcosm moments in your life, and then you've got the microcosm moments in the life of the planet, almost, sort of running underneath, and that is very much how I think. So it made sense to me as a reader that we are tiny little dots, and there's all this history from way back then to way over there that we will not be, and it doesn't matter, because we are no more important, more or less important than the people who leave their footprints in the mud on Doggerland.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I think it's beautiful. I really do. And I think every poem makes sense in relation to every other poem.
Thank you.
Because it's such a personal vision. that I happen to share. So maybe it's not that personal. You know.
It's lovely to be trusted, actually, and understood. I mean, that meant a great deal to me, really. Yeah, it means a great deal to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of my favourites, I mean, they're all favourites, but the ones that really get up and slap me around the face a bit, Dave Off in 5, which it's so delicate. You know, it's just this sort of, here's this bit of information, which you can understand or not. Here's this other tiny bit of information that makes you go, oh, and then, you know, it's just delightful. And because you are responding to the very limited information you had to work with, so it's appropriate. And I love that. I love the way you respond to things in exactly the way that they deserve. And you know, Death Waiting is another one. Fortunately, I've never had to do that, but I have waited to get married in a registrar's office, and it's not unlike.
No.
Everything else is going on around you, and you're
exactly.
thinking, I hope they haven't forgotten us.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the first poem. No, it wasn't all. It was one of the very first poems that I wrote, actually, ever. You know, well, since being a teenager, anyway. Yeah. As an adult. Yeah, and then you play with some of the sort of more formal stuff with your ghazals. I don't even know how you pronounce it. Ghazal. Ghazal. Well, yes, take your pick. Yeah.
I think it's ghazal.
Okay, we'll go with ghazal.
Someone will correct us.
You had very strong views about Djinn. Let Out the Djinn.
I did, yes.
Yes.
Let's do it properly.
and then I saw lots of articles. I've subsequently seen lots of articles that have pronounced it entirely the other way. So there we go.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
But words, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
the beauty of words.
The fact that Djinn is a plural, and people don't know, and they say Djinns, and God no.
Yeah.
And I mean, part of the fun for me in producing this book was me saying, okay, there's one or two gaps I would like to see you do something about. And as soon as we got the title, I said, and now I want you to write that poem. And you went, okay. And then you sent it, and I just said, yeah, that's great. And then, actually, can you change that? Because my immediate reaction was, you got what I was asking you to do. And then it was, but it's still very first draft, and actually not that first draft, it just is a tweak.
Yeah.
I feel a complete fraud telling poets to edit, because I'm not a poet. Yeah, I write very bad poetry. I know enough about poetry to know my poetry is really bad.
You know.
So I can spot my mistakes when someone else is doing them. You know? So I know when it's not quite good enough. And so my routine is to say, it's not quite good enough. And I think you know that too. And you probably know better than I do how to fix it, but where it needs fixing is this bit. Yeah, and trust the poet to do it better than I could make suggestions for. And consistently, when I do that, people come back with something that's better.
That was really nice. I enjoyed that bit. I enjoyed the toing and froing, actually. That was great.
Yeah,
I love that. Some people get really annoyed with their publishers.
Oh yeah, they get so defensive.
I know. I just loved it. I just thought, this is great. This is what, this is why I'm here. Just learning how to do it better, or being pushed to do it better. Yeah. And there is the joy of the editing for me. Editing other people is seeing people respond and actually do even better than I could hope. Just because I've said, this isn't good enough. Don't try and con me. Just and if people can't respond to that, then I'm not going to publish them, because why would I?
you know, they can go and published by someone who's not going to challenge them. And they might never become as good a poet. That sounds terribly arrogant, doesn't it? But you know, if you're not published and challenged and questioned, you can only reach the level you can reach. Whereas if you're stretched a bit, you know, because you know, I teach creative writing. I wouldn't dream of trying to teach poetry. I just when I first signed up for it, poetry was on the list of things I was supposed to do, and I sort of said, no. I can show people what a rhyme is, but
you'd probably be fine, Cherry.
Well, I did actually go and read a couple of books, and it was just going no keys and dactyls, and I didn't know what.
Well, the books are fine, but actually you just need to do it, really.
Well, exactly. And it did give me sort of a couple of ways of explaining it to people who actually knew what they were talking about, but I didn't like what they'd done. But that was about it. You know? My main thing is the idea has run out of energy, or it doesn't scan, or that's a terrible rhyme, or must you turn that sentence inside out in order to preserve your rhythm, because a better way of doing it. And you don't actually do any of those things, and I haven't had to have any of those conversations with you.
Thank goodness.
Relief. Because you know, you seem to know when the poem needs to stop.
Yes, that's right. I don't know. That's something, I don't know. It's kind of an instinctive thing, really. It's funny, isn't it? Just knowing when to stop. Yeah, it is. It's a funny thing. But that is important. I think I think I've always tried to get a really good, strong beginning and a really good end. As much as you can do. Yeah.
And I think particularly with you, I found it was less a case of fix this poem as I can't figure out what, you know, if the one or two that I just said no to. I mean, I remember there was one about Walter Scott's desk. I just didn't get it. When you had to explain it to me, I thought,
no.
If it needs explaining, then this wrong.
And I think now I would completely rewrite that poem. It worked at the time, and I did it as a performance piece, actually.
And it was for something specific.
The
framework was there.
Exactly. I think now, a few years on, I would write a completely different poem. And if you have to explain something so much, then it takes away the joy of it, doesn't it?
None of your poems are so what? Are not just here's a pretty description in clever language. They are about something. And stacked up together, they come to be very meaningful. And the way they bounce ideas through the collection, I think, is absolutely what I look for.
Thank you. It's lovely. It's really lovely to hear that, really, and I've had some lovely feedback from other people as well. And I suppose it really means something if something resonates with somebody else and somebody hears what you're trying to say, really, at a deeper level. Really, it's great. It just means the world. My name is Jane Aldous. I'm going to read my poem, Dave Off in 5. The poem is included in my collection, Let Out the Djinn, published by Arachne Press. The poem was inspired by a diary entry written by my father whilst he was serving on board a hospital ship in the Bay of Naples during the Second World War. Dave Off in 5. Your diary says the 17th of May, 1944 was a lovely sunny day. Then at 9:55 a.m., a day out of Naples, your ship Dempo was torpedoed, starboard side aft, 50 miles from Bourges. You spotted that deadly chevron nosing straight for the hull, ran back for your greatcoat before jumping into a lifeboat. Dave Off in 5 Your entries sound as if you're writing about someone else. Did the whole thing only take 5 minutes? 2 hours later, you were all rescued by Catterick's crew, but watched another convoy ship go down. The retrieval of your coat became a story repeated down the years. Still makes me wonder how your life would have been if there had been no war, where your dreams would have taken you. Thank you.
Have we exhausted this, do you think?
I think it feels like we've covered a lot of ground, actually, Cherry. Yeah.
Should we talk about the cover?
Yeah, talk about the cover. Yeah.
Because, you know,
definitely.
Everything that goes into publishing is my job.
Yeah.
I do everything. And I was so glad when you said, oh, cover. And I said, yes. And you said, how about this? And I said, yeah.
It was great because then
I had no idea what to do with cover wise.
No.
So wide ranging.
Yeah.
And what I love about the cover, which will not be obvious on this really rather poor camera, but the every so often these are in silver, and several goes I managed to get it to reproduce.
Yes.
In a way that you could see that they were silver, because a lot of it, just a couple of goes it really wasn't. So it's like a sort of Catherine wheel.
Yes.
And sort of the whole concept that we'd had with this of letting out the djinn and the sparks of inspiration flying around, and I thought that's exactly it. And them all being different colours was sort of okay. If I was going to get really pedantic and pretentious about it, I could say, well, the red are this and the blue are that. And
no,
obviously I'm not going to. I'm not going to get deep and meaningful. It's a best cover. That's, you know.
Yeah.
And it worked.
I know.
And it made a cake.
It did. It was lovely. I thought, you know, I was so sort of, you know, excited that I, you know, the cake was just the icing on the cake. It was just so delightful when you brought the cake in as well to the launch. But I mean, it was lovely that Bev sort of just responded in the way that she did and created a lovely cover for the book. Because we talked about collaborating before, her artwork, my poetry, and it doesn't, you know, it somehow just hasn't worked, or, you know, because she's very individual, I'm very individual, but something just clicked for her, and she did this most amazing cover that, you know, you loved it, I love it, and it really worked. It does make a great cover. So
and I'm so pleased that it worked, that it went all the way round.
Yes.
I love my pictures covers to go all the way round. Makes it very difficult to fit the words on sometimes, but that's right. So I feel like the back of the book should be as beautiful as the front, and we have very few that we've just got something on the front of them plain.
And it really is. It's lovely. It does really work.
Anything else I should ask you?
I think that's it for me. It's been great.
Anything you want to ask me?
Are you relaxing enough at the moment?
No.
And how's Julian?
Julian is magnificent. I mean, arthritic and going blind, but he doesn't care. He doesn't know. And he's just making little bowers in the garden. He loves. We've got a really big iris that's really needs to be split, but we can't because he lives in it. He sort of gets in there and sort of makes a nest, squashes it, and is very happy. And
that's lovely.
He yelled
lovely, warm,
at a pigeon
cozy
this
place.
morning. He yelled at a pigeon this morning. He couldn't be bothered to chase it, but he sat there until it went.
And Goldie, I don't know whether you can see her, she's on top of the fish tank.
Oh, I see.
That's her lovely, that's one of her very favourite places. She just loves it there. Nice and cosy. Occasionally she looks askance at the fish, but she's not bothered really. It's just the warmth she loves. Yeah, great. No, I've really enjoyed it, Cherry. It's been lovely.
Good. It's
good.
Nice to have a bit of contact, isn't it?
It is, yeah. That's great. Okay.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Jane.
Oh, well, thank you too.
Okay.
Good. All the best with everything. Okay.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.